Shit, I feel a little out of shape, man. We haven't shot in a couple, like 3 weeks. I'm like,
oh, first one back. This is
what
great.
am I doing?
What a great opener.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Sean, Autotopia LA. We're back from Germany. We had an amazing trip. Craig decided to come up from San Diego and Kyle set this one up and he just kept telling me, dude, this truck, it sounds like Dave's GT350.
Presti, more commonly known as the Craig 909, I guess is what I've been known for the last probably 8 years on the internet.
Yeah.
And this is my 1971 Ford F100. It is my first vehicle, learned how to drive in it. It was a 2-barrel 302 3-on-the-tree truck. And I'd driven this thing every day to high school out in Ramona, California, old farm country town. Drove it there all the time and I wanted to do hot rod stuff with it because I heard so many stories about people selling their first car and regretting it. So I wanted my first car to be something I kept.
I'm one of those, a 1970 Mustang.
Picked it up, built it with my dad, got it on the road. Both of us learning as we do, because neither of us are car guys. And then long story short, I ended up putting a long tube set of headers on the thing and I drove it to my high school with straight open headers. And then I posted one of my first viral YouTube videos, which spiraled into what you see today.
And so you and your dad had never built anything before.
No, yeah.
You learned on this.
Oh, 100%, yeah. This was my first vehicle or anything to do with cars, and my dad isn't a car guy whatsoever, still really isn't. But it was more so, let me just work on it with my son, make sure it's safe, and he can drive it to school.
I have a bunch of questions. Like number one, all the paint I see, so I'm assuming this is still original.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's the original
it's
paint,
true patina that we're seeing.
Oh yeah, it's a Wimbledon white truck and it's looked like this when I drove it to high school and it's the only thing that's different, it's a little lower with a way bigger motor in it. But it's always looked like this and I get asked all the time when I'm gonna paint it and I'll paint everything but the exterior. So it
came with, what did you say, a 302?
It's a 302, 2-barrel and a 3-on-the-tree.
Is it still the same 302?
So technically it still has the same crank in it.
No kidding.
Yeah, I bored it so many times because I went through 3 different engines that I had to change the block. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the way that I was driven. No way at all. But I found another D1 truck 302 block somehow on Facebook. So we do have the same block in it.
Oh, this is cool.
And I mean, dude, this is like realistically as like 70s as you can get. It's got an old school chain on it, and the old core support used to have a chain welded, and people used to steal batteries because it was a tow yard truck. So this thing had a lift gate on it, and it was a proper like junkyard work truck. I built this engine myself. This is roughly engine number 4 or 5. You kind of lose count after you just continuously, you know, just beat the snot out of these things. But realistically, it was more of a learning curve. It wasn't necessarily people made mistakes or parts were bad. It was more so learning as I went because I had built my first engine in 5 days, the day before I was supposed to take it to a show in Arizona. So I had continuously just learned engines and built engines. So I've built every engine in this thing. And the one that's in it now is a full, it's still a 302, it's a 306. This one's 40 over, and it still has the stock matching numbers D1 truck crankshaft 302 crank in it. And it made over 500 horsepower with a stock crank.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Why keep the stock crank? Is it for the heritage and the history of it?
Well, a lot of guys, I go into engine dynamics with a buddy of mine. I'm an engineer, he's an engineer, and we really talk about what a lot of guys do wrong with engines, and a lot of guys go straight for the stroker engine, when realistically, if you have a good rod ratio, a good amount of compression with a good cylinder head, and a camshaft that accommodates all those things, you don't need a stroker, realistically, so.
Sorry to interrupt, I gotta backtrack something, because
you
glazed right by engineer. So you're an engineer?
I'm a mechanical engineer from San Diego State University, yes.
I already think it's bitching, but now my expectations just went through the roof because as an engineer, you actually can look and analyze stuff before you do it at this.
Yeah, I blueprinted this engine on paper and did all the math and everything else. I literally designed and engineered this engine. My names are etched into the pistons on this motor. And I told everybody it was gonna make over 500 horsepower with a stock crank on 91 octane with no power outers. And it made 507 at 7,200 RPM.
Is that at crank or at tire?
That's on the engine diagram. Oh my goodness, at 7,300 RPM, it made 507 horsepower. As of right now, it has a billet center carburetor on it that I've changed and adjusted, so it probably makes somewhere in the neighborhood of 520 when it's turned all the way up.
It's still carbureted because I can't see.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's still carbureted. That was one of the things I thought about changing, but this thing still has a fuel tank inside the cab. I just wanted to keep everything very simple. I was like, okay, if we're gonna do fuel injection and start going crazy, let's get a fuel cell and everything else.
So clean though, dude. It really cool, and I love the gold you brought in. This is bitching, man.
That's been a style of mine since my first engine. I don't know what it was. I didn't like the dark blue blue with performance applications. So I did like the old, I think it was K-Code Mustang or some of the old T-Birds, they had the gold and black.
Yeah.
So I like that style, so I applied it to my first engine, and I've been doing it ever since. I used to have the old Moroso valve covers and all that stuff, but I ended up designing and building my own, so they have my logo laser etched into them, and they came out really good. So.
Did you do your own headers too?
We wrapped these, but they've been modified a little bit, but other than that, they're pretty much just a stock header. But
okay.
But it's funny, these are the exact, probably $140 set of headers that I made my first viral video with in high school. And they've been reworked and V-banded and cut and welded and fitted so many times, and they're still good. So that's the one character trait to this truck. That and the crankshaft will stay with this truck.
I'm just trying to add up how this ends up sounding so close to Dave's car. That snap, how it sounds like it revs super fast.
Yeah, it's a combination of McLeod's super awesome lightweight flywheel, as well as the fact this thing makes almost 12 to 1. So it's, I think, about 11.6, 11.7 to 1.
Got it.
And the AFR cylinder head, as well as the port match intake, allows it to be that high of a compression without detonating. I have it turned down, like I'm not really running it into the 7,000 RPM range just so it lasts.
Yeah, sure.
Because these engines are little time bombs.
But it should be able to go up into the 7s.
Yeah, it's easily, I can, by one click of a button with the ICE ignition box, I can ramp in timing, I can change the two-step, and I can turn it all the way to $8,000 if I really wanted to.
I'm guessing it's not the 3 on the tree anymore.
No, yeah. So just recently, the guys over at Silver Sport worked with me on a TKX transmission, as well as a QuickTime scatter shield, because I had a stock cast truck bell housing in this thing. And I was rev limiter clutch dumping it in second gear with a cast bell housing, and I was like, I hate everything about this. So we need to change this. So, but it's still a Z-bar. This thing is still a full Z-bar, stock pedals, stock everything. So it's all stock geometry, but it's a RTX twin disc clutch, so the pedal is super heavy. For a twin disc, it's very drivable, but if you let it out too fast, your head's going through the back window. It grips. It's a 1,000 horsepower rated clutch.
Wow, you're fine with the clutch.
Oh yeah, and then behind that, it does have a QA1 carbon fiber drive shaft, as well as a 9 3/8 fully built 31 spline big ring 9-inch. So the whole drivetrain behind it is 2x, 3x what the motor can do on purpose.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, that's a perfect, really cool horsepower range. I mean, it's such a fun, streetable range, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this thing, it doesn't have the best tire on it. So, I mean, when you're really getting into it, even if you hit it in second without dropping the clutch, it'll spin, and then you'll hit third and it'll keep spinning. So it's like, realistic, it doesn't need any more power unless I put more weight in the back of the truck.
Yeah. I'm curious, is it all still, I mean, it looks like it, is it all still the stock frame?
Yeah, it's still I-beam. That's one thing a lot of guys put Crown Vic clips and Mustang 2 and all sorts of custom A-arm and coilovers on there. This is still leaf sprung in the back. I did a $120 modification on the side of my house, and I flipped the axle, C-notched the frame with a 5-inch pipe, and then cut the front springs and changed the shocks, and that is what's still under it. And it gives it a perfect 4 degrees of camber, 6 degrees of caster in the front. So you can literally go sideways and let go of the wheel. Mind you, it's manual steering, manual brakes, manual transmission, twin disc. So this thing's a riot to drive. Like you are not texting and driving. And so you'll literally be sideways and let go, and it'll snap straight.
It's refreshing in an odd way to, rather than being, you know, chassis replacement and coilovers and I mean, which I'm not saying I'm against that at all. I actually really love it. But I think that's more when you're going for tenths of a second.
Sure. For the price point and me being a college kid trying to build a cool truck, it didn't make sense to put a chassis under it. And realistically, the stock stuff worked 50 years ago, so you can modify things and change the geometry to make it work today for your needs. So that's what I did.
Got it. Brakes, wheel, tire setup. What's going on here?
So this is a Bart D-window, NASCAR style, 15 by 10 all the way around. That's a 275 in the front, 295 in the back, and it has a set of 73 F100, 73, 74 stock disc brakes set up front, grafted on, and I machined the beam to fit that spindle. So it's an OE replacement, but it is a disc brake replacement. So it used to have all drums.
Sure.
So I was doing burnouts and donuts with four-wheel manual drums.
Oh man.
Terrible idea. So now it stops on a dime. I can lock the front and rears up like that. Fully manual still, but it is a good big dual piston truck caliper up front in the front, and it's disc up front, but drum in the rear still. But being a truck, you really don't need a disc brake in the back because it's just going to lock the rear of the truck up.
True. The stance is just so good on this thing. It's not. It's like part of me goes, oh man, I'd love to see the front squatted a little bit more.
So that's the thing, is so when I built the motor the first time, it had cast cylinder heads on it. And so when I did the suspension, I need to cut another half coil on it, because when I built the next motor, it was all lightweight everything. So the front end came up like 1 inch. And I was like, oh, now I'm a Tennessee squatted truck guy.
Yeah.
But it's okay, because when it stands up when you hit the power, man, everybody shuts up.
From header back, is that you creating your exhaust? Or?
Yes, so every single thing in this truck was done by me. And I designed the exhaust system with the guys at Black Widow. They have a universal builder's kit, 2.5-inch kit, and I ran their stainless X pipe, which is like the key to happiness in my opinion. If you don't run a 2.5-inch stainless X pipe and you can turn anything up above 6,000 RPM, you're just leaving harmonic, amazing, angelic sounds on the table. So, and if you look at it, it's very 70s era Trans Am and NASCAR styling, because those exhaust systems come straight down to the collector and then cross out and they go straight out the side. So if you looked underneath this truck from the X pipe to the tip, it's almost dead straight. That I think is a big part of the way it sounds, because I've done a bunch of these systems. I probably built 10 plus of them for friends and my own personal cars with the guys at Black Widow. Being that everything's stainless, it just has that good ting to it, but also going back to not being a stroker engine, having a stock crankshaft in it, it's not moving a lot of air, so you can bring the harmonics way up. So that's why this thing does sound like Dave's car, because it's very a high RPM
it is.
Motor.
It definitely is, yeah. And so is this your ode to NASCAR, putting giving it a spoiler?
Yeah, a little bit. So a buddy of mine,
because you said that was part of the inspiration, was like a nod to NASCAR.
Yeah, I was really big into high RPM, like 289, 302 small blocks, and then getting into the Trans Am era and NASCAR era, back when like NASCAR was cool. I'm sorry, but it was cool. When they had production vehicles, high RPM, X-pipe, all the good stuff. That's what I liked, and that's where I put that inspiration styling back into this thing. So my good friend Matthew Serban actually made this wing for me, and he sells these for these trucks. He makes them for Mustangs as well as trucks, and then me and my good friend Dave actually painted it to match the engine, and then we put it all together, and it works really beautifully. Not
only does it look super cool, it sounds great, but like I can't help myself. I just want to go, well, let's go to the drive part. But but I do want to see the interior before, you know. But I'm like dying to go for a drive in this truck with you, dude.
Yeah.
Seriously. All about business?
Yeah, it's very simple.
Right?
It is very simple.
These seats, what are these out of? These look like they're out of a Malibu or something.
So believe it or not, it's a very rare option in these trucks, but they did have a 68 Mustang seat from the factory, the Rangers and the Camper Specials. Mostly so if you had a camper, you could walk through the center and go to the back of the truck. So these are actually original set of the correct brackets. It's the same seat, so I reupholstered and got Mustang upholstery, but it is technically a factory seat.
Wild, dude.
Yeah, very rare option.
And you did all this yourself as well, yeah?
Yeah, everything inside here, the carpet, the interior, the pedals, the gauges, the headliner even is all, I had a buddy of mine wrap it, but other than that, I did all it's a custom piece of polycarbonate that we cut and fit ourselves, so.
Really impressive, man.
Thank you.
This is super cool. What are your gauges in here?
They're a set of auto meters, so they're actually really old. Believe it or not, the first vehicle I ever bought was a totaled one of these, and I bought the truck just for the gauges because nobody at that time, 7, 8 years ago, was putting gauges in these trucks.
Yeah. And you've been doing this for how long on this truck?
Probably about 8 years now. Just shy of 8 years.
It's so cool, man.
So it's had I've probably had 2 carpet kits, 4 different seats in it, a bunch of engines, like 3 different transmissions. Like I've gone through so much stuff, but the aesthetic and the body has always stayed the same.
Yeah. I'm guessing no AC.
No, we got a little, 55 mile an hour?
Redneck AC right there, man.
Hey, it never fails. I'll never leave it straight.
No,
unless the window falls out.
Yeah, well, well, we'll go get more sweaty.
Yeah, it's a little
I get sweaty today. But yeah, dude, let's go for a drive in this thing, man.
I'm down.
Yeah.
fucking door came open. This thing was hitting so hard. Did you see that?
The
Holy
fucking
crap.
door comes open. I love it. Woohoo! Wasn't expecting that, man. That was awesome, dude.
I know.
Damn, dude.
I just broke an axle.
Did you?
Oh no, I didn't. We're good.
You didn't. Nice. I thought the same thing.
That was third gear.
I know. That was badass. I mean, that's the first vehicle I've been in that sounds like my buddy Dave's GT350, and that blows me away. Then you had the whole backstory about him building and learning how to build, starting his own YouTube channel, which, by the way, go check out The Craig 909. I highly recommend it. And as you can tell, he likes to have fun beating the piss out of his truck. Mild break to it today. He's gonna go back to the garage, fix it, go to his channel. He'll probably make a video about it. But anyways, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. As always, a big thanks for hanging and watching, and I will see you in the next episode. All right, man, later.